familiar with the situation. The Portland Trailblazers lost 2/3 of their subscriber base on Xfinity.
Yeah. I mean, it would have been fractionally worse had I not had to upgrade for my job.
You and I both have it because this is what we do for a living. I mean, we talked about this when it happened. Like, we're not everybody else.
Yeah.
Like, we have to have it. It's part of what,
especially in a season where the expectations are so low. I mean, keeping a third of your viewers is actually pretty decent.
But I mean, that's a dramatic shift, and it ended up being a 50% decline in overall cable subscribers. So not just viewership. I want to separate the two things because
2/3 go down on Xfinity. And you're talking about accessibility, but
yes,
you were able to salvage, that extra 27% by being on satellite.
The other side of this.
Okay.
So that has led them to, again, where I've been told repeatedly over and over again, they are not going to allow this going forward. Now let's go to the business side of things, okay? Root Sports was owned by a group, and that was the Mariners ownership group and AT&T Sportsnet, which is Warner Brothers Discovery. Warner Brothers Discovery sold their shares off. They have gotten out of the RSN game. As of January 1st, the Mariners ownership group took full 100% control of Root Sports. Why does that matter? Well, remember we talked about the Mariners being broke boys and selling off on players? That's because they have rights deals with not only the Portland Trailblazers, but the Seattle Kraken, which means they have to pony up for those rights. Okay, so you go down this list now. If the Blazers are not happy with their coverage and the Mariners ownership group is crying poor through their actions, there's a pretty strong likelihood that both parties are going to come together and try to figure out a way out of this, because it's very clear that the Mariners are not in this to spend money, and the coverage and carriage that you're getting, the Kraken minority owner Todd Lukey, I tried to find this tweet, and I have asked people in the industry to see if they could find it. I believe he's taking it down because his legal team would probably said, "Hey, bud, we need you to take that down." But he said something akin to the line of, this is about a month and a half, maybe 2 months ago, "We're aware of what's going on with Root Sports, and we will make adjustments as necessary to make sure our fans have access to whatever." Essentially saying what we all know is coming, and that Root is probably going to go the way of Bally Sports or Diamond Sports Group, which is to say it will be propped up by their owners or MLB with baseball, and eventually it will go away. For the Trailblazers, they're looking at this and going, there's every one of these contracts, these TV deals have outs. They have clauses for them, the triggers. Lawyers will be involved and are involved, because the Trailblazers are going to look at this and go, okay, we're not going to allow this. Now, how much of that inventory, whether it's all of it, most of it, or some of it, that's kind of all up in the air, because the thing you have to remember is Root owes the Trailblazers money for the rights. Do the Trailblazers just want to wipe their hands of that and say no because their inability to deliver? In most contracts, you say no. So you're going to get some pretty angry folks on both sides in a room. There's going to be some frustration. There's going to be some ego, and there's going to be lawyers. But how that shakes out, I think very strongly that you're going to see the Trailblazers get most of, if not all of their inventory back. And you're going to see them do a world across over the air. And that is your local broadcast companies. Again, sources directly familiar with the process have told me that in the coming weeks, the Trailblazers have an opportunity and an opening in their window that allows them to have direct talks with local broadcast companies. And that includes Fox 12, Coin 6, KGW, and CW. And why does that matter? When you're talking about over-the-air broadcasting, not every station has the ability to push over the air to all of the markets, because Portland the Trailblazers have a footprint. They own Washington. They own Alaska. They own parts of Idaho into Utah and Nevada. That's down into California.
That's their regional territory.
That is their regional territory. Hell, the Trailblazers own a piece of Las Vegas. I believe 7 teams own rights in Las Vegas, as weird as that is. But so you've got to find different networks. Let's say Coin, which is owned by Nexstar, has the same company owns a company in Seattle, a broadcast company in Seattle, a channel in Seattle. and they want to be able to broadcast there, but they don't have the carriage to be able to do it in Portland. So maybe Tegna, which is KGW, gets the Portland rights, and the Seattle rights go to the Nexstar company in Seattle. And so you kind of find on piecemeal all this stuff together to kind of be able to figure it out. So that's solves the over-the-air situation. It's trying to work through all of that. The next part of this is if they get their rights back from Root, they'll own their streaming rights. And through my conversations with stakeholders and with the Trailblazers, over the past 2 years, they have very, very, very staunchly said they want to do a direct-to-consumer option, very similar to the Utah Jazz. The Jazz have Jazz Plus, which is $125.50.
Bring back Blazer Vision,
which is essentially what this is, but direct-to-consumer.
Blazer Vision
on a streaming option.
And Paul Allen ahead of his time.
He went by 25 years. The guy knew what he was doing. The interesting thing about the Jazz solution is it's $125, gets you 2 tickets and a hat and every game. And it also gets you shoulder programming.
So 2 tickets to one singular game.
Yep, of a list of like 20.
Okay.
So think about the value of that.
And a hat.
And a hat.
Again, throw the hat out. Just think about this. If it's say it's a very cheap game, $20 a ticket kind of a deal.
Hats are expensive.
Drop $40 off of 125. You're essentially paying $85 or $1 a game to be able to watch your team. Would you pay $1 a game to watch your team?
100%. And I get a hat.
And you get a hat.
The other part of this is you also have you're sending content directly to your fans. So what you do is you get shoulder programming built around that. The trail.
Yeah.
And you start getting more of that stuff basically beams directly to the brains of your fan base. And you're building that fan base. And if you're wondering about the over-the-air stuff and how successful it is or isn't, the Phoenix Suns were the first ones to dive into this model. And in this model, in just this year alone, their viewership is up 95%.
Yeah, I would assume that Kevin Durant and Bradley Beal and, well, I guess maybe not Bradley Beal because he hasn't been playing all that much this year, but having a good team, that plays into it. But the accessibility is the main thing here. And when you go from losing 2/3 of your viewer base and the accessibility for 2/3 of your fans to having full coverage over the air, that is invaluable. And it's a smart move, and I think we're going to start seeing more of the local over the air happening across sports, not just in Portland.
No, you're going to the NBA in particular. Number one thing that's going to happen with the new media rights deal, blackouts are probably going away.
Hey,
so that's going to be a big part of this.
All right, and there we go. That's Talking Blazers. That's good stuff, man. And I think that's stuff that's good that actually impacts the fan base moving forward because there's going to be a lot of people making full-sale changes because of that in how they have their cable and their television now.